Good morning, I'm Robert Tan, and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. The Asian Development Bank, or ADB, is committing roughly $20 billion to support the Philippines through 2028. ADB President Masato Kanda met Finance Secretary Frederick Go on November 25 to reaffirm the bank's partnership with the government. The national government recorded an 11.2 billion peso budget surplus in October, reversing September's 248 billion peso deficit, the Bureau of the Treasury reported. It's the first surplus since April. Industry leaders say Philippine manufacturers must climb the value chain to produce globally competitive exports and meet domestic demand. Federation of Philippine Industries President Reinier Dizon said recent global shocks revealed the country's reliance on imports. The Department of Agriculture is investigating slow red onion shipments. Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. said unused import permits could be canceled and reassigned as retail prices top 300 pesos per kilo ahead of the holidays. The Asian Development Bank, or ADB, is strengthening its partnership with the Philippines, pledging $20 billion in support through 2028. ADB President Masato Kanda told Finance Secretary Frederick Go that assistance will exceed $5 billion next year and reach $15 billion from 2026 to 2028. The bank is expanding private sector support with a $400 million program to modernize business systems and $100 million investment in Maynilad Water Services offering. ADB is also preparing support for the country's 2026 Association of Southeast Asian Nations chairmanship and reaffirming its push for good governance and transparency. The national government swung to a 11.2 billion peso budget surplus in October, reversing a 248.08 billion peso deficit in September. The Bureau of Treasury data shows spending fell for a third straight month amid a widening corruption probe, while revenue slipped to 441.7 billion pesos. Tax collections held steady at 414.5 billion pesos, led by the Bureau of Internal Revenue, which included a major tax refund. Expenditures dropped to 430.6 billion pesos, and primary spending fell nearly 9.3% year-on-year. Despite October's surplus, the government's 10-month deficit widened to 1.11 trillion pesos. Through Treasury says it remains on track with the full-year fiscal target. Manufacturers are being urged to move up the value chain to make exports more competitive and meet the needs of a growing domestic market. Experts say the pandemic exposed the country's heavy reliance on imports, prompting local production of essential goods. Analysts caution that while free trade has benefited consumers, it has left industries vulnerable, contributing to a 54 billion peso trade deficit in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Industry leaders emphasize the need for advanced technology and domestic semiconductor facilities to strengthen key sectors of the economy. Observers also highlight the Philippines' robust consumer base and call for investments in workforce development and local industries to sustain growth. Stakeholders agree that strategic planning, along with close collaboration between business, government, and academia, will be crucial to reviving manufacturing. The Agriculture Department is pressing importers to explain why red onion shipments are arriving so slowly as prices climb past 300 pesos a kilo. Officials say only 192 of more than 1,200 import permits have been used, even as monthly demand for red onions hits about 17,000 metric tons. The DA warns unused permits will be canceled and redistributed to boost supply, including possibly to the state-run food terminal. All clearances must be utilized by January 15, 2026 to prevent hoarding and avoid clashing with the local harvest. This comes as former Congressman Zaldi Ko claimed that House probes into sky-high onion prices were shut down after First Lady Liza Marcos allegedly asked then-Speaker Martin Romualdez to halt an investigation implicating her brother Martin Araneta in controlling onion imports. Meanwhile, Brazil has approved the world's first single-dose dengue vaccine as the country faces a surge in cases. Regulators cleared the Butantan DV shot for people aged 12 to 59 after trials in more than 16,000 volunteers showed over 91% efficacy against severe disease. Scientists called this move a historic achievement, saying the single dose will speed up vaccination compared to the current two-shot option. Officials also announced a deal to produce about 30 million doses in 2026 as global dengue cases hit record levels. And as energy prices fluctuate and infrastructure demands grow, consumer-funded utility projects have become a crucial issue. Meralco, the country's largest distribution utility, has been embracing a model where consumers help fund its infrastructure expansion. Today, we're exploring the impact, risks, and future of this approach. And joining us via Zoom is Pete Ilagan, former DOE Undersecretary and current president of the National Association of Electricity Consumers for Reforms, or NASICOR. Welcome to Business 360, Pete. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to all you viewers.
Okay, sir, the ERC states that auditing Meralco's investments in subsidiaries falls outside its legal jurisdiction. Now, what is NASICOR's legal basis for arguing the ERC not only can, but must trace these specific consumer-derived funds?
Well, in the first place, this money comes from consumer rate payments. So, consumer-derived funds ito. Ang role ng ERC ay hindi nagtatapos after it gives approval or grants the rate of a particular utility like Meralco. Nag-uumpisa pa lamang kanilang oversight responsibilities upon the approval of a rate that translates to annual revenues to ensure the viable operations ng isang utility katulad ng Meralco. Dapat tuloy-tuloy ang oversight responsibility ng Meralco upang masiguro na yung inaprubahan na rate ay mapunta dun sa exact purpose upon which the rate was granted. Kailangan siguraduhin niya upang masiguro yung hinihingi ng batas na viable operations ng isang utility katulad ng Meralco, kasi ang operation ng Meralco is imbued with public interest. It is only a substitute to the state in performing a public service. Kaya kailangan siguraduhin ng ERC na yung perang ipinagkaloob niya na naging collection or annual revenue ng Meralco ay masiguro na napunta lamang doon sa exact purpose niya, according to the purpose upon which it was granted, upang maiwasan ang tinatawag na misappropriation or misuse of the funds, maiwasang merong over-recovery, at siguro natin maibabalik yung sobrang pangungulekta.
Now, Pete, having said that, can you point to a specific line item or note in Meralco's own financial statements that, in your view, most strongly indicates that the 112 billion pesos may include over-recoveries rather than just legitimate retained earnings?
Well, in their financial statements from 2012 to 2019, we see a line item which says cash generated from operations in the amount of almost 300 billion pesos. Kaya ito ang sinasabi na natin na dapat ay suriin ng ERC. Sa kanyang tinatawag na continued oversight function, dapat nagko-conduct siya ng tinatawag na periodic or annual true-up. Ang ibig pong sabihin nito, alamin ng ERC kung magkano ang totoong nakolekta ng Meralco sa isang taon upang ilaban ito doon sa kanyang inaprubahan lamang. Ito yung naging basihan ng ERC at ng Meralco nung unang mag-volunteer ang Meralco in 2020 na mag-refund ng 13.8 billion na sinundan ng ERC ng 4.7 at sinundan pa ng 21 billion. Ang ginawang methodology yan ay true-up review or true-up audit. Kinukuha yung actual collections, yung totoong nakolekta nila sa isang taon, at ilalaban dun sa naaprubahan. Yung sobra, yun ang tinatawag na na didetermine nilang over-recovery. Yan ang pinakamababaw na pamamaraan upang masiguro na yung perang ipinagkaloob ng consumer sa pamamagitan ng kanilang buwanang pagbabayad ay napupunta lamang doon sa tamang serbisyo, sapagkat alam naman natin na yung binabayad nating presyo ng kuryente ay kailangan maibalik sa isang magandang serbisyo sa atin. Ngayon, isang malaking obligasyon ng ERC na siguraduhin na hindi unjust, hindi unreasonable yung kanyang rate. Sapagkat kapag ka nagkaroon ng diferensya sa true-up review, sumobra yung nakolekta doon sa inaprubahan na dapat lamang kolektahan,
yes.
ibig sabihin merong over-recovery na nagsasabi na unjust na at unreasonable itong presyo na pinagkaloob ng ERC sa Meralco.
Now, Pete, the ERC now kine-question ng standing ng NASECOR in this matter. Now, what is your response to that, and how does it affect your ability to represent consumer interests?
Alam mo, nakakaalarma at nakakabahala yung question na yan, yung posisyon ng ERC. Sapagkat ang NASECOR ay mahigit ng 20 taon na kinikilala ng Energy Regulatory Commission. Mula sa unang chair na si Fe Garin, tapos sumunod si Albano, sumunod si Dupot, sumunod si Salazar, sumunod si Di Banadera, wala pong nag-question ng standing ng NASECOR. Nakakabahala po. At malinaw naman po ang basihan ng consumer representation dahil ito po ay nasa IPIRA. At ang pinakamaganda po rito, may mandato po ang ERC to ensure an adequate promotion of consumer interest and to provide the mechanism upang masiguro ang consumer representation sa ERC deliberations sa mga rate applications. Unang-una, ang perang yan ay mula sa consumers. At kung mula yan sa consumers, yan ay held in trust lamang ng Meralco. Kaya, ang masyadong nakapagpapaalala dyan, kinu-question ng NASECOR nung ating questionin itong Meralco investment.
Now, Pete,
kaya nakakabahala masyado.
Pete, if the ERC formally denies yung audit request ng NASECOR, ano yung mga specifically legal remedies is NASECOR prepared to pursue if this happens?
Well, ang unang-unang nakikita natin dyan, base sa ating experience na, ay abdication or dereliction of duty to protect consumer interest. Yan ang nakikita natin dyan.
But why the sudden, you said before, na kinikilala ang NASECOR, but why the sudden change in stance? Ano pong observation nyo?
Ang nakikita natin dyan parang hindi na ngayong balanse ang kontrato ng ERC sa interest ng utility at ng consumers. Hindi na nagiging balanse. Gaya ng paliwanag natin sa maraming pagkakataon, nababalanse ang interest ng utility owners katulad ng Meralco at saka ng consumers. Kapag ka na ipagkaloob na ng Energy Regulatory Commission ang hinihiling na rate at annual revenue nila, ay naipagkaloob niya na ang interest ng isang utility. Paano naman mababalanse ang interest ng consumers? Dapat lamang sa pamamagitan ng audit, sa pamamagitan na siguraduhin na yung perang ipinagkaloob ay napunta sa kanyang exact na layunin. Kung walang audit, walang review, ay walang protection ng consumer. That's where the ERC will fail in balancing the interest of the utility and the consumer's interest.
Now, yes. But on the other side of the argument, Meralco would probably argue that investing profits drive economic growth and future grid stability. Now, why should consumers see this specific 112 billion peso as their money instead of corporate capital?
Ang pera lang namang Meralco ay magmumula doon sa itinalaga o pinagkaloob ng ERC na return on capital investment. Kung magkano ang kanilang inilagak na puhunan, kung magkano lang dapat kitain nun, like for example, in the case of Meralco, binigyan sila ng a little more than 14%. Yun lamang ang magiging pera ng Meralco na maaari nilang gastusin. Sapagkat yung ininvest nila ay i-regulate yan. Sisiguraduhin na yung investment nila ay ginagastos lamang ayon sa serbisyo na pinagkakaloob ng isang distribution utility. Hindi pwedeng gamitin yan sa ibang bagay. Kaya yung binabayad nating pera na upang mabawi nila yung kanilang pamumuhunan, ay dapat masiguro na yun ay pagbabalik ng pera ayon sa paggamit ng kanilang pamumuhunan na isinasaalang-alang lamang sa pagsiservisyo sa publiko.
Now, Pete, finally, what are the next steps, and is there open communication now between NASICOR and ERC with regards to this issue, so you can get to an agreement on this?
So far, yung ating November 17 na huling sulat sa huling liham sa ERC na pinapaliwanag natin na hindi natin pinapa-audit yung subsidiaries kung hindi pinapa-audit natin yung perang ipinagkaloob natin na in-identify na natin na nasa halagang 112 billion. Yun ang nais natin tutukan ng ERC upang maproteksyonan yung perang kanyang ibinayad sa Meralco na dapat ay mapunta sa serbisyo sa consumers. Yung perang ininvest nila, hindi yan ang purpose ng perang binabayad natin buwan-buwan. Hindi po tayo nagbibigay ng pera sa Meralco para ma-expand yung kanyang interest. Hindi para mag-invest siya sa ibang mga negosyo. Ipinagkakaloob natin yung monthly payments na yan upang may pagkaloob sa atin yung serbisyo na ipinagkakaloob ng isang distribution.
Pete, well, hopefully you do come with an agreement with the ERC with regards to this issue. But thank you for joining us this morning to talk about this issue and give us a quick education about what's happening right now with the taxpayers' money.
Maraming salamat din.
Okay, thank you. We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and narratives that matter most to your bottom line. Welcome back. We start with overnight moves in the U.S. and Europe, which are shaping trading across Asia this morning. Wall Street extended its rally Wednesday as investors priced in a higher chance of a December Federal Reserve rate cut just before the Thanksgiving holiday. All three major U.S. indices posted fourth straight gains, recovering from last week's tech-driven losses. European markets closed higher, fueled by Fed rate cut expectations and hopes of a Ukraine ceasefire. The White House and EU have endorsed a peace plan that could resolve the conflict by year-end. Let's check on how Asian markets are doing this morning. So far, the Nikkei 225, Kospi, Shanghai Composite, ASX 200, and the Straits Times Index are in the green, while Hang Seng is in the red. Here at home, shares got a lift on Wednesday as investors picked up cheap stocks with the anticipation of an interest rate slash boosting market sentiment. The Philippine Stock Exchange Index recovered by almost 0.5% to close at 6,004.70. With value turnover at 12.3 billion pesos, the Philippine peso also held its ground against the greenback, helping support overall sentiment. Trading at the PSE has opened, so let's look at the initial figures. The PSEI is in the red, trading at 59.53. Majority of the sub-indices are in the red, with decliners currently outpacing advancers 64 to 58. So far, value turnover has reached 1.4 billion pesos. On the currency front, the peso opened at 58.75 against the dollar, slightly stronger than its previous close of 58.84. The Philippine Stock Exchange has elected Cecil Ang of San Miguel Corporation and former Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista to its board. Ang, as San Miguel executive, replaces Ferdinand Constantino as non-broker director representing investors. Bautista, former Transportation Secretary and Philippine Airlines President, takes over as independent director from Andrew Jerome Gan. The appointment follows PSE's corporate governance rules, ensuring board representation and protection of stakeholder interests. Starting next year, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas will launch monthly surveys of consumer and business expectations to sharpen economic insights and improve inflation forecasts. In partnership with social weather stations, the central bank is developing a forward-looking survey to complement existing quarterly data using a smaller sample and streamlined content. The consumer survey will track household outlook, while the business survey will measure firm sentiment and prospects. The BSP says more frequent expectation data is vital to anchoring inflation and enhancing its overall economic monitoring system. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Robert Tan. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.